Here's the old lantern that we've modeled so far, and let's start doing some materials for this guy here. Alright, so I'm going to select a piece right there. I'm going to set the origin of geometry on that, and let's come over to the materials tab, click new, and let's call this metal silver. And we're just going to go around and add that to everything that I want to be metal silver. And we'll start with these things as metal silver as well. We'll do this top part as gold. This is going to be metal gold. So I'll just go ahead and I'll do that too. So that's going to be metal gold. I think the screws will be as well. I'm not sure. Handle up here. Those things. And up here, I think we're going to do this. I'm going to select the top face on these pieces here. And we're going to come down to there, and I think I'm going to break them out. I think they'll look better separated out. So those will be metal gold as well. What is that part? Is metal silver. The feet down here, I could join them or I could separate them. I may just separate them. So I'm going to do this. And let's say Control L. Look at them. Let's break them out as well. And let's on the feet there. Let's delete that. Create a new one. We're going to call that just block. All right. So I think we've got materials assigned to everything. Now I will have to build one more thing inside here, which will hold the object that's going to be releasing an emission. But for now, we're going to work on just this. So let's come over to the shading tab and just focus on that for now. Join that. And that. Okay. So we're going to create the materials now for that. I'm going to go sort of for an old silver material. So I'm going to add a wave texture. I'm going to press Control T because I've got the node wrangler enabled, and I can do that. And I'm going to use the object coordinate into vector. All right, and we're also going to add a color ramp here, converter color ramp. And I'll go ahead and I'll plug that into the base. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change some of these values here. So for the scale, I'll try 0.1. For the distortion, I'll try something like 75. For the detail, I'll bring that up to 16. And you can start to see what it's going to do here. And for the roughness, let's try 0.75. And that'll give us that. All right. Now, for my color ramp, I've got dark here. I'm going to drag that in a little bit, and I'm going to change these. This one's going to be a lightish gray. And let's try here. I don't want it too crazy. Alright, so we got that. Let's drag this all the way up for a metal. And let's try just a different. Really going to have to do lighting very soon to get this to look the way I want it to. I'll leave the roughness there. Let's come back to here. To start to get the sense of what I'm getting. Okay. This piece I do want as metal silver. Forgot about that. Okay, so now what we'll do is let's add some bump to this. Select all this, just move it out of the way. And I'm going to add a vector bump. I'm going to bring the color down into the height and the normal into the normal here. Let's try a very small amount of bump, 0.08. Alright, cool. So far so good. Okay, now we're going to add some scratches to this. So I'm going to add a noise texture. I'm going to use the texture coordinate into here. If I press Shift Control and left click, I can see the noise there. Alright, I'm going to bring the scale down to 1. I'll bring the detail up to 10. Roughness to 0.8. And I'm going to use distortion like that. We'll start to get some scratches in here, but we'll use a color ramp to adjust those. Put that in there. I'll Shift Control T on that. Now go back to the noise. Shift Control T on that. And I'm going to tighten these up. Let's actually Shift Control T on that. Alright, so we'll start to see the noise coming through in the form of some scratches. And I'm just going to move that over here. We're going to use another bump. I'm just going to Shift D, duplicate that. And we're going to plug the color into the height of that one. And the normal into the normal of the first bump. And I'm going to use 0.15. And then we'll have a look at the whole thing by Shift Control, click on the principled BSDF. And now you can see I've got some little scratches all over this thing, creating another interesting appearance. So that might be a little bit much, maybe. Maybe 0.07. And we have the beginning of my texture. And then, you know, you can go back and adjust these colors as much as you like. And if I make this darker, we'll get that mottled appearance even more. lighter, less like that. We'll do another wave texture. Put that down there. And I can do them all over, or I can just have them, say, vertically or horizontally. And to do that, let me grab this first of all. We'll bring that in. Bring that into there, and then I'm going to use a separate XYZ. I'm going to duplicate that and then Shift S and switch it to a combine XYZ. I'm going to plug the X into the X, the Z into the Z, and I'm just going to do it in the Y. And then I'm going to use a Musgrave texture over here, and let's just focus on that itself. Shift Control click on that. Let's set the scale at 3 for this. The detail, I'm going to go for 14. Okay. The dimensions though, I'm going to switch to 0.5, and you can see I'm getting these sort of areas going around it. All right, I'm going to leave it like that for the moment. And I'm going to take the color of the wave texture into the Y here, vector into vector. And I have them going sort of vertically to some extent. And we're going to use a color ramp here as well. Put that in there. I'm going to drag these out, but I'm going to flip these. I'm going to copy this. We're going to use this color, this bump, and this bump is going to go into this last one. So let's grab all of this and move it back. This bump is going to go in here. 0.03 for that. Let's try this. Let's have a look at the principle. Give that a moment. We'll get more scratches on the vertical. Like that. Let's have a look at that. And this becomes the texture that I wanted to use for the silver. Okay? Yeah, all right. There's my texture. Now, before I go any further, let's click on Ambient Occlusion, Bloom, Screen Space Reflections. I'm going to bring the Ambient Occlusion up. I'm going to put 2. To appreciate these materials, or this material a little bit more, I brought in some lights. I've got a sun. I've got an area light here that I've made green. And this one pink for now. And I brought in a camera. One more thing that we should do is click on the World tab in Color, Environment Texture, and add an HDR image. So just find something that you like, switch over to Scene World, and now we can get a better idea of what this is going to look like. Alright, so we've got that going so far. Okay, good. Now, what I can do is I'm going to add, I think in here, let's hide that for the moment, and let's add a cylinder for an emission. Let's just make it 18 and nothing there. Put that in here, but let's scale Shift Z. Make it pretty small. Let's scale it in the Z. Let's put it there for the moment. We'll shade smooth. Come to materials. Let's add a new material. Let's call this emission. Switch this to emission. Make it something like 15 or 16. An orange kind of color. Do some work on that. But what we're going to see is that I need a hole in this. So let's just focus on that for the moment. And let's scale this down. And scale that down. I think I'll grab both of them and Control E, bridge edge loops. Throw another edge loop there. And another edge loop there. So we've got a hole going through. Let's hide this piece. Okay, so now the light can get up to there. Go through, and we can see some light. So now, let's look at this thing and go in. Just drag this up. Okay, so we've done that. There's going to be more to do. For the moment, let's put on metal silver, and I think I'm actually going to click that, and I'm gonna make that the gold. Let's come to the shading tab and just focus on that. I could use the same material. I'm thinking of a different material, a brushed metal on that. But for now, let's just try changing this to a more gold kind of color. If I do that, that there. This is the general idea of how it would be. Make these. It'll go like that. We start to get the sense of what's going to look like. Okay, now I'm going to hide this. I need to make a little stand for this thing, so I'm just going to come in here and select that, Shift D to duplicate it, then P will break it out. Let's scale this down. Do something like extrude it down, scale it out, extrude it down, make sure we don't have any back faces. Let's put that up there. And bring some edge loops. And then we'll come in here and we'll inset like that. And we'll extrude it down. We could probably get rid of that bottom face. We'll never see it. Just something to hold it. That's fine. Let's have a look at that. Okay. Not really going to see it, but in case you did. All right, now there's more that we're going to do with the lighting in there in just a minute. But I want to show you something else. And like I say, I may change these materials. I want to throw that on so it looks a little better. I want to show you a way that you could do some cutaways in this, similar to this kind of thing, but without doing it in geometry. All right, so I'm going to focus on that piece there. Go over to UV editing. Just focus on that. Control 1, I'm going to look from the back. And I'm going to add a seam. I'm going to, what am I going to do? 2. Shift Alt and click there, but I don't want that one or that one. Just there. Control E, mark seam. Actually, I need a seam right there. Control E, mark seam. I'm going to unwrap it. Okay, now get this. I'm going to select that and Control L. And I'm just going to move that out of the way. I don't care about that at all. This is what I want to work on. And I want to straighten this out. And I'm going to press 1 for vertex selection. And I'm going to select a couple of vertices there. And I'm going to scale Y0. Scale Y0. And these ones scale X0. And scale X0. Press 3 for face selection. Select that face. And then Control L. View. Follow active quads. And I'll get that. Now, I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. And just bring it in and just bring it up. All right, now I'm going to come back to the shading. And just focus on that thing there. And I'll do scene lights and scene world. Okay, so this is the piece that I want to put my little cutaways. And so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to bring in an image texture. And move this out of the way. We're going to use the displacement part. So I'm going to bring in a texture. And I'm going to use a color ramp. So I'm going to connect the color to the FAC. And I'm going to take this and bring that in here. And because I UV unwrap this, I'm going to press Control T and use the UV coordinate for this. And then I'm going to load a PNG. And I'm going to try this little design here. It's white on black. All right, I just created this in PowerPoint. Just shapes, combine some shapes. All right, so this is what I have so far. Now, I'm going to come to the UV editing. I'm going to switch this over here. And I'm going to scale. Now I have a seam here, but so far it's okay. Let's go back to shading. And let's adjust some of this. to the UV. Play with the positioning a little bit. Back to the shading. And then you can mess with the color ramp. Let's have a look at that. Right. So it looks like I've done some holes in this. Now I don't want it on this. So what I need to do, let's see, I'm going to create this as a new material. I'm going to call this metal silver engraved. Yeah. This is just metal silver. This one is metal silver engraved. Let's come back to here. Let's get rid of that here. Alright, so I just have one material with metal silver engraved. There we go. Now there's more work to be done on this and on the light inside and on the legs, but I think we'll leave it like that for the time being. It gives you an idea of what we're going for, what we're starting to get. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that, and when we come back, we'll finish this up with adjusting this gold material. We're going to adjust this emission, and we're going to add a volume in here as well. That should get light looking nicer and coming up through this area as well. Cool, so thanks for watching, and we'll hope to see you next time.